here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Let him do that, strange. Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly. You can kiss my foot. Mr. Lincoln, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson, with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
We did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena.
And most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
Couple of things for you. I want to revisit something that the city of Panama City Beach is still trying to do that most people don't know about. And if they did, they'd be freaking out. There'd be 1,000 people protesting in front of Panama City Beach. I also want to talk to you about the latest in the Lynn Haven corruption case that is fizzling into nothing, because today an evidentiary hearing has been scheduled for December 12th. I think it's December 12th and 13th, a Monday and a Tuesday. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with this, former Mayor Margo Anderson and her lifelong friend, developer James Finch, were both indicted at different times, and they are basically co-defendants in the case. Now, they started off with like 64 counts against Mayor Margo Anderson. They're down to 2. And they're not down to 2 because the judge threw them out. They're down to 2 because the prosecutors dropped them themselves, at least from 25 to 2. And so the actual trial now is set for February 27. And so this is just the most incredible story. Imagine a mayor who is indicted, the only one in Bay County, after Hurricane Michael, and accused of conspiracy and fraud and other things. And boy, you see 64 counts. There was a big press conference about it, how Sheriff Ford and his public trust unit, public trust unit, were going to clean up this town of all of the public corruption. They know about it all. They've got the evidence on all kinds of people. So, boy, so much to tell you about that. But let's stick with the point here. So here's what it means. And it's huge. It's huge. Back in March, there was an evidentiary hearing, and it lasted 3 days. During this evidentiary hearing, the defendants, Anderson and Finch, were able to put on the stand under oath the FBI agent, the head of the sheriff's public trust unit, and others, and asked them all kinds of questions under oath. And what came out was shocking. Now they're going to do it again. There's going to be another evidentiary hearing. Let me show you the document that came out today. This is, I'll keep telling you about it, because it is Really amazing. All right, let's see here. Here it is. So this is what came out today. And if you see there, that's Jody's page. The Beacon of Bay County. If you're not following the Beacon of Bay County, you're missing out on a lot of stuff on news and commentary. So take a look at the notice of filing. It says that there will be a hearing on December 12th, beginning on December 12th, signed by Chief Judge Mark Walker. All right. Now, what does that mean? That means that the defense is going to have witnesses again. And this is all about the government, the prosecutors, not providing exculpatory evidence that the defense is entitled to. So now the government, the prosecutors, have to go before the judge and explain themselves. Why did they not get the, it's called Brady material, evidence that could show that the defendants didn't do what they were accused of doing? I mean, all kinds of stuff. Remember all of the Mayor Anderson used the city to get her home cleaned up and all that stuff. And then we found out there were backdated invoices that were planted in an office and then raided the next day. Well, all that stuff's thrown out. No, I'm sorry, it's not thrown out. The prosecutor said, no, never mind. So what's going to happen is there's going to be all kinds of evidence presented. I have no clue, but I based on the hearing last time, I can't wait to see it. I've been dying to see it. Because you know that I want Bay County officials who prolonged the hurricane, who benefited from, prolonged hurricane cleanup, inflated the prices, and benefited from it, to be held accountable. There was so much FEMA money coming into Bay County that officials just couldn't help themselves. And now with the former Panama City community development director, Michael Johnson, being arrested, and now we know that the FBI is involved in the investigation that involves federal money. He was also, by the way, the liaison for the county commission for all kinds of millions and millions of dollars coming in to Panama City, or to Bay County and Panama City, to rebuild homes for people who had their homes destroyed, like in the Glenwood area and that sort of thing. And that turned into, let's see how much money we can make as home builders who are also county commissioners and engineers of record. All I'm saying is, with the investigation going on in Panama City, I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you a few things. What I think is happening, all right, this is now my guess, all right? So if I tell you something and I show it to you, those are facts, right? That's what's happening. But right now, I'm just going to lift my gaze, my G-A-Z-E. I'm going to lift my gaze, all right? And I'm going to look ahead. And I'm going to tell you what I think's happening. I think that the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit and the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, all of them, they know that the Lynn Haven case is ridiculous. And they've been found out. So they have to have, in order to justify using the FBI to, look at all of the public officials in Bay County and others. They've got to have a new big investigation. They've got everything they need to make lots and lots of arrests. The FBI has what they need to make lots and lots of indictments if they wanted to. So far, they haven't wanted to. They've wanted to prosecute the Lynn Haven stuff when the people who really committed the crimes in Lynn Haven have pled guilty. So now they're looking at Panama City, and I think it's going somewhere. Why, Bernie? You trust the FBI? Well, here's why. This is still my guess. Still my guess. About 3 years ago, when I thought that the Public Trust Unit and the FBI were really going to clean up this town in Panama City Beach, in the Bay County Commission, Panama City, the school board, and so on and so forth. Well, let's just say that local officials had protection in high places. But after after the election in 2020, when Joe Biden took over, the Justice Department got a different mission, right? Instead of going after public corruption, now they're going after, I don't know, you, white supremacy, right? All that stuff. But what I think might be happening at a bigger level at the Justice Department. Remember, the U.S. Attorney's Office is a branch of the big Justice Department. They set the agenda. They set what they're doing. And is everything political now, or is everything political now? I mean, big time, right? So now that Ron DeSantis did so well, and there's talk about a possible Ron DeSantis presidency, does this administration seem like the type of administration that might want to investigate and go after political opponents? Not that doesn't happen locally too, but let's keep with big justice here, the Justice Department. So would it benefit, and would it be consistent with what we've seen over the past year, if they wanted to hurt Ron DeSantis by hurting Republicans who are close to Ron DeSantis? Yeah, I can see that. And there are Republicans close to Ron DeSantis, like his CFO, Jimmy Patronis. I don't know that he's done anything wrong. Jimmy Patronis has always been nice to me. Cool guy. But he's got his hands in a lot of stuff. And so do the Trumbles, our state senator. There were a lot of things that happened after Hurricane Michael. I've told you before about the comfort stations. Now, how in the hell nobody's been indicted over the comfort stations is unbelievable. What they were places in Panama City and in the surrounding areas where FEMA would bring MREs, water, and things like that for the community. I'm talking about, I think Panama City Commission voted like $10 million to spend like $10 million on comfort stations that benefited local bigwigs, lobbyists, attorneys that started LLCs and started supplying stuff with really sweet deals. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. And why that hasn't been investigated is beyond me. But now that I know that because they told us, Panama City told us that the FBI is working with them, I wouldn't be sleeping well if I was any public official in Panama City involved with the comfort stations and the unbelievable amount of money that went through there for not very much. So I think there are different motivations. It could be that when it comes to public corruption in Bay County, finally the right thing might be done, but maybe for the wrong reasons, bigger political reasons. All right, that is what I've been thinking about. That is my conjecture, my guess, but I bet you I'm close. I bet you that people are sleeping with one eye open. All right. So there is a lot here. The focus on Lynn Haven is being shifted, all right, to where there was much bigger criminal acts by government officials locally. Big. And so I think as this fizzles out in Lynn Haven, this is going to be the new thing. Now, will there be an evidentiary hearing? It's scheduled for December 12 and 13. I'm going to still keep my guessing game hat on. All right. I would be shocked. I really would be shocked if there is an evidentiary hearing. It's scheduled. What do you mean, Bernie? Because I wouldn't be surprised if the government, the prosecutors, the U.S. Attorney's Office locally, dropped it. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped the entire case against, well, it's only down to 2 charges now against Margo Anderson, because the investigators and the prosecutors didn't want to go under oath and say what they've been saying. So I would be shocked if we get to December 12th, there's an evidentiary hearing, and the defendants get to call on the witness stand before trial. Like I saw last time, the FBI agent, the lead, the sheriff detective in charge of the public trust unit, Sheriff Ford himself, maybe, Chris Forehand, the city engineer. I would be shocked if they were willing to go up on the stand under oath and have to answer specific questions about evidence that has been withheld from the defendants. Because the government has to, in front of Judge Walker, this is the 4th motion to compel evidence. Basically the government has to tell the judge why they haven't turned over the evidence that they were supposed to turn over in February. Before that, really, but February was the deadline. And in December, they've got to tell the judge about it, and they could be cross-examined and put on the witness stand by the defense attorneys. I do not believe that they're going to do that. Not for just 2 counts left. Maybe if there were still 64 or 25, maybe it's worth going up there and facing that kind of pain, but I still doubt it. So I wouldn't be surprised. Still got my guessing game hat on. If the Lynn Haven case is thrown out and the attention turns to Panama City, where there are millions of dollars that were stolen and handed out to local big shots, the details are unbelievable. Talk about a $70,000 RV that her husband bought. Talk about cleaning up a house that now they say she didn't do. That's peanuts compared to what I've been telling you and showing you, and what we saw in the affidavit for the search warrant on GAC that named big names in town and big crimes. Yeah, I'm going to be shocked if they're willing to go on the stand and answer questions about evidence. So we'll see. But that's that story. Now I really want to tell you about something that local news will not tell you because they get a boatload. They get a boatload of money from local governments in advertising revenue. They are now WMBB, WJHG, the News Herald. They are public-private partners with local government, so they don't report the news. They are PR firms for those governments. And Panama City Beach and the others are working on it too because they want to get in on it. Panama City Beach has plans. They voted on it. They're trying to move forward, but they've got to get permits. And that's turning out to be a challenge for them. You know, discharging polluted stormwater into the Gulf of Mexico that they divert from the wetlands north of Back Beach Road through underground pipes 30 feet deep in the Gulf of Mexico that they have to dig gigantic trenches to discharge polluted stormwater near the end of Panama City Beach City Pier. They got $21 million, Panama City Beach, by lying on a grant application that was HUD money. Panama City Beach told the federal government and the state government that Calypso Towers and the scenic corridor of Panama City Beach over by Pier Park is a blighted community. They told the guy it was a blighted community, and they got $21 million, and now they want to pollute the Gulf with bacteria and the news won't tell you about it. Here's what it'll look like. Let me show you what it'll look like, because they did this, they being the consultants and the engineering firms, they did this in other places like Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. The Atlantic Ocean, which is very different. When you put bacteria in the Atlantic Ocean, at least the water's colder, at least it's deeper, at least there's more of a flushing out into the deep water, because as they say, the solution to pollution is dilution. But Panama City Beach says, hey, if we can get $21 million and some kickbacks, let's do it here. Digging 30-foot deep trenches in the rock bed of the Gulf of Mexico, a quarter mile from the city pier, with jackup rigs and barges to discharge polluted stormwater into the Gulf of Mexico from the wetlands north of Back Beach Road. I'll show you what it's going to look like right after this. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com.
When your life is on the line, hire the lawyer who lives in our community, works in our community, and worships in our community. I'm El Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
All right, so what I'm going to show you right now, if you think that people should know about this, will you please tag them? Will you please share this? Because it is unbelievable. Here you go. All right, let's take a look at what this looks like. You see this? This is coming to Panama City Beach. They're going to, if they get the permits and they get another $10 million, it's going to end up being more than that. They said it's going to be about 20. First they said $17 million. Then they got a grant for $21 million. Now they say they need another $10 million. Who thinks that that's going to be it to complete the construction of what they call a stormwater outfall? This big giant pipe that's big enough to drive a Volkswagen through is going to be, they're going to dig the rock bed under the Gulf of Mexico by the city pier 30 feet, 40 feet deep. They're going to bury this, and they're going to discharge polluted stormwater at near the end of the city pier. Yeah. It'll be underground. I mean, you'll see it, but you won't see it once it's underground, if it stays underground. You want to see more? I'll show you. So they've done this kind of thing in, they've done it in Puget Sound in Washington State. And divers went underneath to see what it looks like. At the end, under the water, the stormwater discharge. All right, what's it look like? Well, I'll show you. This is going to be at the Gulf of Mexico in Panama City Beach at the end, at Pier Park, at a quarter mile at the end of the pier, 1,500 feet out, which is exactly how long the pier is at Pier Park. All right, look at this. All right, let's take a look at underwater footage. Seattle storm drains like Panama City Beach. Take a look at this. This is what it'll look like at the end of. What you see is the polluted stormwater that they discharge into Puget Sound. That's freshwater, bacteria, pollutants, oil. You see all that? That's what they want to do. That's what they're doing in Panama City Beach. I'll show you more. Back in January of 2021, you ready for this? What I'm going to show you is going to blow your mind. You are not going to believe this. On January 14 in Panama City Beach at the city council meeting, they had two consultants, and they voted that day to award them $1 million for consulting on this polluted stormwater project. And they were talking about it. You're going to hear it right now. You're going to see it. And the consultant said, we've never done this in the Gulf of Mexico. It's a lot different than the Atlantic Ocean. So you guys are going to be the guinea pig of the Gulf. I'll even show you when they're talking about if they're able to keep the pipe underground during a hurricane, because they've got, downward forces, they've got upward forces, they've got static forces, they've got dynamic forces, and they got to make sure the pipe doesn't come out of the ground. See? The guinea pig of the Gulf. Do you love the Gulf of Mexico? Do you love the beaches in Panama City Beach? Are you willing to risk being the guinea pig of the Gulf? And by the way, I'll prove it too. I'll prove this to you as well. When you discharge that much fresh water, polluted fresh water, but fresh water, into salt water, where it meets at the end of the pipe, like you just saw, you mix that much fresh water with that much salt water, and you get what's called a dead zone. More specifically, it's called a hypoxic zone. The city, Panama City Beach, told local news, who told you, that that's not true. I'm going to show you that that's not true. What it really is, said Jeff McConnell and the rest of them, and Michael Jarman, who has turned out to be horrific. They said, don't listen to Bernie Thompson. It's actually not a dead zone, a hypoxic zone, like scientists say. It's really a kill zone. This is what Panama City Beach said. See, when we discharge bacteria into the Gulf of Mexico, the salt water will kill the bacteria. It's a kill zone, is all. To which I said, did you hear yourself? You just admitted you're going to discharge bacteria into the Gulf of Mexico and Panama City Beach? Yeah, but Bernie, it's a kill zone. See, they say it's going to help with flooding. It won't. How could it? They have a lot of claims of what they say it's going to do. But they are adding, they're lying about this too, but the state and the others that have to award the permits, the council themselves behind closed doors, they know and they admit that it will add polluted stormwater, like from the parking lot at Calypso, from the other impervious surfaces that they're building where the rainwater no longer absorbs into the ground, but is being discharged into the Gulf of Mexico, the oils, the E. coli, the bacteria, because it can't absorb into the soil. Why are they taking it from north of Back Beach Road? Well, they are. That's a fact. They lie, but it's a fact. I need to go up there and just show it to you. Behind closed doors, they talk about it. It's in the documents. They're redirecting rainwater from north of Back Beach Road in the wetlands where St. Joe's developing, because you got to dry it up to build. The water that would normally absorb into the soil and be filtered through the soil naturally and end up in the bay, that is essential for the ecosystem's health, they are going to take it, divert it into the Gulf of Mexico, creating look it up, hypoxic zone. I'll show it to you. But first I want you to hear the consultants themselves. Okay, can we do that? You are not going to believe what you're about to hear. They're going to call it the guinea pig of the Gulf. They're going to talk about flatbed trucks with rocks the size of Volkswagens during the construction phase. Watch. All right, here we go. This was January 14th, 2021. The consultants are doing it by Zoom. Wow. Oh my God, this is crazy what you're about to see. Please share this. Please tag your friends if you think it's worth it. All right, the consultants are down at the bottom there, but listen close.
And as the lady pointed out, this will be the guinea pig of the Gulf experiment with sonar outfalls. And I recall the first one we
Did you hear that? This will be the guinea pig of the Gulf experiment with the outfall projects. They are going to experiment with your Gulf of Mexico a quarter mile east of Pier Park. And they're going to use the beautiful Dune Lake, low water lake, as their retention pond. Unless we stop it. And we might. We might, because we got Jeff McConnell voted out. And now we have Mary Coburn on the city council who understands this, who is in the backdoor meetings, and who knows this is disastrous for our Gulf of Mexico. Listen to this again.
The lady pointed out, this will be the guinea pig of the Gulf experiment with sonar outfalls. And I recall the first one we did.
Okay, so what about, they're going to answer the question, will it withstand hurricane forces? Let's see what he says here. I think it's right about here. Let's take a listen.
For these storm events, the pipe itself, we have to design it for static and dynamic forces and surf zone under a hurricane event. You've got two problems. You've got uplift from the waves above, and you've got down forces from the waves crashing. The potential for liquefaction in the soils beneath the pipe are a huge problem, which would make the pipe sink. And then the uplift would make the pipe come out. So part of the design element of this project is to ensure that under these conditions, that pipe stays in the ground, just like it's supposed to.
Man, you know, we're the guinea pig of the Gulf. Hell, let's give it a shot. Let's dig 30-foot, 40-foot trenches a quarter mile from Pier Park, 1,500 feet out, bury pipes big enough to drive Volkswagens through and discharge polluted stormwater. And then, you know, let's hope they don't come out during a hurricane. Let's hope the pipes don't come out of the ground during a hurricane. Did you hear that? That's the consultants that they paid $1 million to on that day. Is this a big deal or no? Or is it not a big deal? Now, I'm going to show you what what a dead zone is. Okay, you can look this up on the National Oceanic and Atmospheric. What is it called? NOAA. Oh my gosh! Wait till you see what they are about, what they're trying to do, unless we stop them, to our Gulf of Mexico. All right. Let's take a look at that. But first, let me thank the people who allow me to bring this to you. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome. All right, so I told you, because they said it, I heard them say it. That's how I even knew what it was. What's a dead zone? My God, they said it's going to create a dead zone. What's that? That doesn't sound good. First time I ever heard of this stuff, but damn, dead zone, you know, that doesn't sound right. So I looked it up and I found out it is when they discharge a whole bunch of fresh water and it meets the salt water and it creates a hypoxic zone, and which is terminally detrimental to the marine life. Let's take a look. But the city said, don't listen to Bernie Thompson. That's not what a dead zone is. It's a kill zone. The salt water is going to kill the bacteria that we discharge into the Gulf of Mexico. That's what the city said. And then, of course, WGHG and the rest of them said, yeah, that's all it is. You became a reporter and a journalist to repeat the talking points of government. That's not what journalism is. It's to question it. It's to say, wait a minute, where did you get that? Because if you look here, if you look at, say, the Nature Conservancy, or type in hypoxia, dead zone, and you will get all kinds of information about what it is, really, not what Jeff McConnell or Mark Sheldon tell you it is. So this was written in, gosh, I don't see where it was written in, but they have the biggest dead zones in the Gulf in Mississippi, where the Mississippi River discharges. Okay, it's been disastrous. And now they want to do it here because there's a lot of money in it. And St. Joe needs to dry up some of the wetlands so they can develop. A Gulf dead zone threatens seafood life, production, recreation, and marine life. Other than that, it ain't too bad. What causes a dead zone? Remember, the city said it's when salt water kills the bacteria that they discharge into the Gulf. Heavy rains and melting snows wash massive amounts of nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, from lawns, sewage, treatment plants, farmland, and other sources along the Mississippi River into the Gulf of Mexico. All right. And it talks about algae blooms that choke off oxygen in water. and make it difficult, if not impossible, for marine life to survive. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, estimates that dead zones cost U.S. seafood and tourism industries $82 million a year. The impact could be devastating to the Gulf seafood industry, which accounts for more than 40% of the nation's seafood. Louisiana is the second in seafood production, only to Alaska. Because fish and other commercial species usually move out to sea in order to avoid the dead zone, fishermen are forced to travel farther from land and spend more time and money to make their catches, adding stress to an industry already hurt by hurricanes and the oil spill. Those species can't move, or can't move fast enough, die off, leading to the name dead zone. But the city of Panama City Beach says that the dead zone is just, where the salt water kills the bacteria. Do you think everybody needs to know about this? I'll show you one more picture. The consultants described drilling next to the PCB pier. And here's what it will look like. This is actually what they do and what they're going to do here. If Panama City Beach gets its permits, they already got a $21 million grant. I just absolutely cannot believe the things I have to show you and tell you. All right. See that? That is how they dig 30 feet deep and put gigantic pipes underground. I wrote in September of 2021, the consultants describe drilling a gigantic trench next to the PCB pier for the stormwater pipeline. Mayor Mark Sheldon and the council are hell-bent on digging out rocks the size of Volkswagens. The city says the term dead zone refers to the saltwater killing the bacteria they plan to discharge. Vice Mayor Jeff McConnell promises, promises that infusing polluted stormwater at the end of the pier won't harm fish or turtles. Councilman Paul Casto and Mike Jarman insist that it'll be good for the habitat. So the city won't get their permits, I said, until the end of 2022. It's actually going to be a little longer than that, thank God. All right. I think but look at that picture. Do you want that a quarter of a mile from Pier Park? Panama City Beach City Council does. And unless you and others link arms to stop it, they just might get their way. They say they will. All right. Is that enough for you? I've got a lot more on this, but I just wanted to refresh you about what's going on. And I believe, I heard somebody else say this before, so I'm stealing it. I believe that if the kickbacks were big enough, that the Panama City Beach City Council, except for Mary Coburn, who's trying to stop it, if the kickbacks were big enough, they would discharge, arsenic into the Gulf. I mean, if the kickbacks were big enough. Don't you agree? All right. I appreciate you being with me tonight. And if you would like to support my efforts here in the Liberty Lounge, where I do this, here's how you can help me. You can become a patron at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. And it's sort of like a tip jar. For as little as $5 a month, it's easy, it's anonymous, and you can quit at any time. Some people are saying, Bernie, it's not so easy, I couldn't do it. Well, when I sign off here, there's other ways to support the show, and I sure hope that you will. I also want to thank, of course, the Unknown Patriot for your support, helping me get the truth out the best I can for all of you. Thank you so much for being with me, and I will see you soon. So much big news coming, and I will bring it to you, and I will show it to you. Thanks for being with me.